story to also really have a say to you and also really welcome you aboard in a similar way. You're most welcome, Benson.
Good morning, Faris Majid. Good morning, the viewer who is catching us at this particular moment from the different places we have in the world. Not only, I think, in Uganda, we are all over the world. You know, the biggest story, my focus is all about the life of the refugees and the NGOs, non-governmental organizations. They have given much attention to refugees, and their independence is also coming next week on 9th of this particular month. And actually, they are calling for peace, plus the other stories. And the biggest thing which is happening in the world of sports is all about not the ongoing European Championship. It's all about the draws that was conducted yesterday, and Uganda being pitted alongside some of the toughest countries we have in Africa as far as sports is concerned. And as usual, we are going to start with what is first, we end with what is last. You are most welcome.
Okay. Also. And now to start off the discussion right away with what we did see in Parliament, where the appropriation bill was rejected and presented back to Parliament by His Excellency Dr. Museveni, who is the executive. And when this bill was presented, now when we talk about this bill, so many people do not actually know what it means, but this is the budget. And the President cited so many irregularities that marred the budgeting process, where we are seeing our MPs, who are some of the MPs actually today, who are also really behind bars for this also really misappropriations in here. And we did see the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Anita Mongo, also really saying that these people did not steal. But why are they now being arrested? Because she did say that these people are not thieves. They did not steal the money, but rather they rechanneled the money to other areas which are not priorities in there. And now this forced the President not to assent to the budget before proper scrutiny in there, and where he presented the budget back to Parliament from scrutiny. And this is what we did see also really happening, where now the legislators had to also really, first of all, eat up and see where to remove. But so many people have now been affected because money that was initially meant to benefit other sectors will not be able to sort of be channeled in there. And do understand that money that was meant for health has now been rechanneled, and this is money that was meant to go for buying ambulances for the other local governments that had not received, and also really money that was meant to also really make sure the works for these regional centers is finalized. Is also something that we did see happening in there. I don't know what you mean about what you know about the budget and what exactly that will be able to mean to the ordinary citizen, because this has been at least the talk of the nation for the last few days in there. I don't know what you can say about it. And yesterday you were also really there with Kizza Besigye. You heard what he said. I don't know what that means to you as an ordinary person now.
Yeah, exactly. That's something everyone has been waiting for, more especially the Ugandans, because the new financial year started on the 1st of this particular month. It was on Monday, and it been approved yesterday. I think something, of course, the Ugandans will have to smile for, because the budget is going to help them. It has delayed this time. I think there has been some issues. That is the reason as to where we have seen it being delayed like that. And the president, the head of the state, now approving it makes a sense. Now people are now aware, and they are now very happy that the financial year, of course, is going to be implemented. Okay. And the money which they have approved in the different sectors will now start working. Okay. You have mentioned some of the sectors, like the sector of health, because those are the sectors which people...
Okay, so talking about the sectors that will not be receiving this money, and this is part of the 750 billion, which also the president raised concern about. And remember, Ugandan budget stands at about 72 trillion, but out of this money, worth 750 billion will not be going back to these people. And that is one thing we did see happening. Many people are now raising concern, because part of this money has been reallocated to also the private investors. We are seeing Roko company also going to receiving, also to receive some of this part of this money, which we are talking about here, and this is going to be affecting the several sectors in one way or the other, and many people have actually raised concern about the same matter. And we did see this also already, where President Museveni has now signed that into law, and this is already something we did see days after Parliament bowed to his also already wishes in there, because this is something we did see a number of opposition leaders saying, and Kizza Besigye actually said here. I don't know what he said. He actually came out and said that President Museveni has captured all the institutions, including Parliament, in there. That means that also already Parliament is powerless. And this is what the retired Kizza Besigye, who is currently on the tour, also already said. And this is one thing also already we are going to be dwelling much on. What do you make of that statement by retired Kizza Besigye of President Museveni capturing all the power, maybe all the institutions?
Me, I disagree with the statement coming from Colonel Kizza Besigye, because when you talk about a budget, not only for the state, budget actually starts from the home, from the family. You know, something to be done with the budget is something not easy. And you take a look at the budget of the country. It's not only the president himself that deals in actual presiding, or is working on the budget, maybe approving it. They will have to sit with the rest of the cabinets in the parliament before its approval is done. Though,
but this is what exactly went on, because parliament presented what it wanted before the executive, who had to sign it, and now president said, look, here there are certain things that I don't feel right. And this is also really something that we are seeing with the corruption scandal that we are exhibiting today, where some of these MPs are actually said to have tampered with the money. And the other day we are talking about the issue of percentage, where some of these MPs are received also. We are actually planning to receive part of that money for them as percentage, and money worth of 20%. This is really some huge amount of money, where some people actually said they wanted to also pay with the budget of Uganda Human Rights Commission, and this is one thing also really we are now seeing them be arrested for. And I believe many actually fearing, because they actually played and tampered with the budget in there, and this is something the head of state.
You see, first one thing we should know is our president is one person who is against corruption. He's always there in front to see that he fights against corruption. And one thing you will need to know is, I know, like you have said, the rest of the cabinet members, they presented the budget to him. They actually wanted him to approve it the way they wanted it.
And then he came and said, no, because these are arms of government who have independent powers. What does that mean? Because some people are saying there's now supremacy of who is who in this, because they want to understand if the arms of government can concurrently also really determine on some affairs, because we did see the president saying, I'm not going to sign into this law, despite the other group that is supposed to, because it is supposed to be parliament that is supposed to approve this, do this budget, and then also its approval is still supposed to be done by parliament and presented before president to sign it into law.
What we know, and the viewers outside should know, is president, of course, is the part of the parliament. And
it's the fountain of honor.
And these meetings, they have not been done in a secret way, or else in a secret manner. And before actually a budget is approved, I said, right from the family, and it goes up like this. Of course, you will have to go over the budget. Can this one work? Is this one high? Is this one low? And him being the head of everything, of course, he has the right to say that this one should not go, we should go with this one should not go. He knows the reason. He's not someone who is corrupt. In fact, he's fighting against corruption. If he has nullified some of the things, which means he's right to nullify them, that's what I can say as far as his concern is concerned.
The way you are defending, I think very soon we shall also really see you appear either as an RDC or as an assistant RDC perhaps. But that is one thing also really maybe we should pray for, because definitely it is something also once it comes. Definitely I believe we will take it up. But many people have actually raised the concern about the way the president has actually come out today to also really fight corruption, because in one way or the other, you had Kizza Besigye also really yesterday still saying the corruption in Uganda has been promoted by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Reason being, he has also really been able to also really talk about the investors, because land like being that government land that has been given to investors, he talked about it. This is something also we did see happening yesterday, where he said government land has often been given to investors without proper accountability to Ugandans, and that is already how the lands have ended, and that is corruption, and it's also really at its utmost peak. I don't know what to say about that, because he said the president has actually been behind the corruption scandal that we are seeing in this country today.
First of all,
and in your own opinion, do you maybe think that the statement made by Kizza Besigye was valid?
First of all, you look at these private sectors, you look at these private organizations, all of them, what do they contribute to the country of Uganda? Of course, they contribute in different ways. Like if a part of our land is given to them and maybe they start a project, that project, of course, to some extent, it also benefits Uganda. So
in other words, what you are saying is that part of that 750 billion that was meant to also be given to ROCO, and also this, first of all, putting our other priorities, for instance, health and education, because part of that money was reallocated for the seed schools, and these are also really where you are seeing Aliba Seed is actually one of the schools that was meant to benefit from this money, and this is through also really recruiting teachers, through also really getting other requirements. And then we are talking about health, also really one of those priorities that was also really, that will also be missing part of the 750 billion, sorry, and this is also really where money that was meant to go for the finalization of the works for this centers. For instance, the regional centers will not be receiving it. And you're not talking about private investors who will also be receiving this money on behalf of this on behalf of the other priorities. Do you want to say we should also really value the other sectors more than also we should give more priority to the private sector than also really government priorities in there? Because at the end of the day, definitely you would be able to know the implication of this on the ordinary person.
Yeah, it's true. The repercussions might be positive. They might also be negative. First of all, you look at these private sectors, private investors. What do they do for our country? You know, there are some things which are supposed to be done by the government of Uganda, and you see these private sectors, these private investors, they come and fill the gap, something which would have been done by the government itself. But you see these private organizations, private investors, private sectors, they come and fill the gap. Me, I don't see it as a strange thing or as a bad thing. When part of the budget is allocated for them to maybe uplift their hands such that they continue to proceed very well with the projects they are actually providing for the Ugandans. Because what they are doing, me, I see it as something which is benefiting the country, because you cannot expect everything to be done by the government. You look at these NGOs, you look at these private investors, there are so many things they are doing which government, of course, cannot touch. I don't see it as a bad thing. They also need our support. Okay. Every part of the land is given to them, which it's right, because for them to establish a project, it also needs a physical thing like land. Okay. And also for them to, we also need to support them in different ways. If we give something little for them to uplift their hand, it's also something good. But
sometimes the value and what comes out of this money is that part of this land for investment for these private investors is actually what public wants to understand, because money that comes from them has never been accounted for. And this is where some critics of government have often also raised doubt about in there. And we are going to be leaving that aside, and now let's also look at some of those top stories that did also really catch up people's minds this week. Is also really the fact that also we did see police reshuffles in the Arua city. This is also really not where we did see our own also not being spared from the reshuffles. And now we are going to be receiving a new RPC. The regional police commander has been reshuffled, and the deputy, that is Dennis Ochama, has now been promoted to replace him in there. And that means also really right at the top. Also really, this is also really where we did see this going on, where a Nanga was already replaced in there. What do you make of the police reshuffles? And now on, by the way, Josephine Anguchia, the police regional spokesperson, was also not spared also on this as well, where she will be going to school that is in Kampala. Definitely also we are looking out for the new PRO of Western Sub-Region. What do you make about these promotions, and what do you think needed to be considered while also doing these promotions here, in your own opinion?
First of all, what I'm looking forward as far as the reshuffles are concerned is, of course, it's not something which is also surprising to me. It might not also sound as a surprising thing to the viewer who is watching us at this particular moment, because it is something normal, which is not only in the security sector, but it happens in every sector. Now the question is, I know what is running in the minds of people at this particular moment is all about who is that person. Can that person be able to serve exactly the way how Josephine Anguchia has been performing is actually what is running in the minds of the people? We should also know that what you do, not everyone can like it. There are some people who will always be liking what you are doing. There are some people, however much best you do your part, they cannot like it. But according to me, she has been, of course, having a tremendous achievement. She has been having tremendous work as far as that sector of RPC is concerned. So him, her being in, there are so many things which happens in these things. You look at these things of promotions, demotions, you cannot expect someone to be there permanent. So if maybe she's going somewhere, they are bringing another person, I think that's something which is not bad.
Okay, that is it. And in the full list we are seeing here, and remember this started with the senior positions and also really junior positions really well. And this is also really upon taking over office as Abbas Kabagawa, the new IGP, also did take office in here. And the Inspector General of Police, Abbas Kabagawa, has dropped the SCP, that is Fred Enanga, from the position of police spokesperson after a long period of time. And this is actually where the darling of the police has also really had many people also really compliment here and there. And many people actually going to say that they are missing Enanga already, and many people do not actually want to see him leave. And this followed a lot lot of issues where, if at all there was any emergency that also arose in the public domain, many people would wish to have Enanga on Monday address on this issue for different reasons. I don't know what time you had also where you love the people, maybe. At the man we're talking about, it's already in terms of responding to this issue. I will also be sharing you one moment also where I will not be able to also forget in there. And this is actually one thing that made me laugh. And up to date, I love also really reflecting back on it. First time you experience with Fred Enanga.
You know, that is the reason as to why I had to say that it depends on how you have been performing. Once you have been performing in a good way, of course, people will not want you to go away. But if you had been having wrangles with the people, maybe how you have been performing is not up to the expectation of people, that's when they will expect you to go, and they will be thinking that this is the right time for you to leave office. They also want to have experience with a new person. Me, what I can say in summary is, it depends on how, of course, you are performing, how you have been performing in the office. If you had been a person who has been performing in a good manner, of course, they will miss you. They will not want you to go. But if you had been someone who has been having wrangles, maybe you have not been performing up to the expectation of the fans or to the people, you know, security is something people, of course, will not have to talk with, because not only in the country of Uganda, all over the world, actually the eyes of people is, of course, is the security. Security starts with you as an individual, and then it spreads its wings like that. So, bringing it back to the issue of Josephine Angutia, this time living in Arua City, like I said, people are going to miss her services, and there are some people, of course, who will not miss her, but according to me, he has been having great achievements as far as that sector is concerned and that position of hers is concerned.
Okay, I believe for over the 10 years she has been here, definitely she has had her positives and negatives, and we want to wish her the very best in her next endeavors, and we hope maybe in future she will be bouncing back in a bigger and better position, and that is what we always pray for our own people. And that is when we did see recently recruitments going on. People in Western Sub-Region have actually been asked to ensure that they join these forces and also tap into these positions here. And now, as earlier on we were talking about the reshuffles, where we did see also Fred Enanga be replaced by that is Assistant Commissioner of Police, that is Rusoke Chitimwa, who has been the Regional Police Commander, that is for Ruizi region, that is based in Mbarara in there. And the reshuffle also came a few days after Abbas Kigaba also held a long hour meeting with President Museveni at State House in there. And now, according to information, Enanga has now been appointed as the Deputy Director, yet to be also seen in there. That's the Director where we will be heading that. And in other positions, sorry, where we did see the reshuffles, and these are solely for the top positions, we did see Richard Echega, and he has been now appointed for Kampala Metropolitan Commander. And we also did see Assistant Commissioner of Police, that is Tuishime Gerald, who has already been there, and now he has been promoted as the Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Commander. We did also see a Superintendent of Police, that is Seguya, and now has been appointed as RPC, that is for Kampala Metropolitan East India. And we did see also SSP Nanoka RPC for Kawempe North India. And Stephen, Assistant Senior Commissioner of Police, we did see Stephen Tanui has now also been appointed as Kampala Metropolitan Commander, who is now Deputy also fire in there, and many other positions. And in West Nile, we also did see our own Regional Police Commander be moved the headquarters, and he will be now working at the headquarters. And that means that this is a promotion, and this is only a promotion where we should also really pray for our own at all times. And if the likes of Josephine Anguchia, the likes of Matua, Alfred Tokira needed to be promoted, and this is only where we need to see maybe the likes of Asea also really be promoted to those top positions. I believe that would make us proud. Yeah, yes or no?
It happens. It makes people proud. Like there are promotions and demotions in every organization. If you are demoted, of course, it doesn't make you happy. But if you are promoted, it makes you happy. First of all, before you are demoted, or else before you are promoted, first of all, they look at your footsteps, how you have been performing. I am now repeating myself, how you have been performing. If you have been performing extremely very well, of course, you'll get the other sector of promotion. But if your footsteps have not been all that to the expectation of the sector, and not the sector rather to the expectation of the people, and also people who are monitoring your footsteps, you will be demoted. It's all about your performance, which will earn for you that higher rank position, or else that's when you will be demoted. That's what I should say.
Discipline is always key, and one thing that I would not be able to forget about this RPC who is now going to Kampala is he has often talked about discipline to all his officers at all meetings, and in the meetings that I've had with him, definitely I've seen him talking about discipline if at all people want to get promoted, where he asked the juniors to always relate well with the seniors, and that would also earn them promotions. And that is one thing also which I want to also really encourage the junior officers who are yet to be promoted in there, is that they shouldn't give up. They should continue doing what they are doing, because they are serving humanity, and definitely we are also praying for them, and we must also really as public support them at all times, because sometimes what they go through, by the way, is not easy, but really nonetheless they have to keep going, and that is where they show the oath of allegiance to really protect the citizens in there, because as police their duty remains to keep law and order, and that is what they are doing. And I really believe our officers also really are doing the very best, and that is why we're also supporting them in. And one good news is that in the recent budget, we're also going to be seeing salary enhancement, and that means also really we are going to be seeing an increment for these police officers, which to me is still not yet enough. And this is where officers are now going to be earning at least more than 400,000, and this is also really one thing which we have longed to see, and I believe this is the way to go. We need to also really make sure that we support our officers.
Yeah, salary increment is something everyone, of course, will want to see on his or her table. When they increase salary for you, that means you are doing so well. And if their salary is increased, I don't see it as a bad thing, because you look at how they are performing. Once they talk about your salary increment, you know that you have been actually, you have been achieving a lot. But if you are someone who has not been performing very well, of course, no one, no any other organization, no any other sector will talk of salary increment on your side. If their salary is going high, it's something which comes with pleasure for them.
Okay, as that also comes with pleasure, I believe the promotions are also really coming with an increment in salary, and that is one thing also really where I want to congratulate these people now who have earned the promotions, to also really say congratulations to them, and we pray for more promotions, and maybe from also that position of RPC, we want to see him also be promoted to inspectors, and this is what we want to see. We want to see also really be promoted to the top positions, and that would make us proud. And we would also always continue to pray for these people who are in the forces, and the UPDF recruitment also is ongoing. And leaving police aside, we are seeing recruitments going on, and that's for the Uganda Post Defense Forces, and this is across also the entire region. And yesterday the team was in Koboko, and the other day we did see them also in Germany and other parts of West Nile sub-region, and this is also really where we are going to be recruiting more than 9,000 citizens into the UPDF force in there. But we are seeing the numbers overwhelming, because the people who applied and we are selected was about 24,000, and out of this only 9,000 will be selected to go for training in there. I don't know what to make of that, because we are also seeing people being arrested with fake papers. It means that they do not have the academic qualifications, but they feel they need to join the forces. What do you make about it?
Right now, people are in need of jobs. People are in need of jobs. People need salaries. People need money to uplift their standard of living. Now, the ironical part of it comes here. They're advertising for around the 9,000 UPDF soldiers. But you look at the number of the people who have applied for the job. On top of that, others are going with the false academic registration. It's not all about the false academic registration, and also how physical, how stable you are. I think lucky ones will go. But there is one thing I've loved about this country of Uganda. They don't joke with the sector of security. Security is always taken as a priority. That is the reason as to why I was saying that security starts with yourself as an individual before it spreads outside. Yeah, I might be my security, you might be your security, but what about outside yourself? That is, I think, one thing the country of Uganda is looking forward into. Police, the issue of police reshufflement going together with the issue of UPDF soldiers recruitment, I think this one will make sense at the end of the day. Okay,
talking still related to security, we did see protest in Gaga Market. This follows a re-election bid, which was on Thursday, where we did see protest at Gaga Main Market also in there, where a section of vendors actually stormed the voting center and they pushed away the electorates and also those who were also organizing the elections in, and I mean the officials. And that is what we did see also happening at Gaga Main Market. And this follows also the rejection, and these people said the town clerk of Central Division is actually not respecting their constitution by bringing, that is the Market Act, to override their affairs. And this is also where they cited their constitution, which says the elections shall be organized by the vice chairperson of the previous regime in there, and where they also did have their own leadership in there. And that is also something that followed the rejection of the leaders, where one who also identifies himself as Mr. Abdulaziz has now been appointed and voted after being the only candidate upon also being verified by the EC in there. And that is something also we did see happening in there. But now the town clerk also came out to say that the issue is not that. It is just because simply these people did not observe the right channel to use when it comes to voting. Exactly. What do you say about, they cited so many irregularities in relation to that?
Exactly. That is the point I was going to talk about. You know, Matthias, when it comes to elections, votings, it always comes with the wrangles. First of all, people, they first look at the art of how you have come up with the organization, how you have been actually organizing the voting. Maybe that might be the reason as to why we have seen the riots, maybe the election being nullified or else the voting being nullified, which means there are some channels that we are supposed to follow before the voting takes place, which they have seen it has not been happen. Maybe that's why we have seen the voters, and also more so, and also more, we have seen some of these leaders also, the city leaders also getting into the wrangle. Others on the side that the voting should take place. Others also.
And that brings me to the question: should it be right for any person to take a side? Because definitely, I'm a human being. I may also have interest. Because definitely, I will still have my interest. But is it right for me as a leader to take interest?
No. First of all, as I said, it depends on how they have been organizing the whole movie. If it has not been organized in a good way, that's where of course you will see the problem coming. But if the channels have been in a good way, that's when you will not be expecting wrangles as the voting rights being nullified. And also, why I'm bringing the part of the leaders is, you have said some of the leaders, of course, they were supporting that the voting should take place. Meanwhile, on the other side, others are saying that it has to be nullified. On top of that, you know, the voters are actually the vendors themselves, the citizens. And if they say that the voting should not take place, of course, the leaders alone, they cannot take part in the active voting.
Okay.
Vendors, of course, they are actually the priorities as far as voting is concerned. So leaders splitting into two and adding the vendors, of course, you cannot expect anything.
Okay, talking about leaders and vendors, let's connect the video and see what exactly the leaders are saying in relation to this affair, because this is something we did see on Wednesday. But I must congratulate police in a special way also for acting calm that day, because I was able to see the police officers also taking their calmness by not also tear gassing, because had they done so, definitely we would also have seen maybe the situation worsening. But I must congratulate them in a special way and say congratulations, and we are proud of you for also really making sure that we do not lose property and lives during this process in there. For now, let's connect to hear what the leaders are saying in relation to this voting exercise. Business came to a standstill yesterday at about midday at Gaga Textile Market in Arua City as angry protesters stormed the voting center to stop the leadership elections from being conducted. The disgruntled group of vendors, mainly youth, carrying placards and chanting "No to Fresh Polls," stormed where the elections were taking place and pushed away the officials and voters from proceeding with the exercise as they expressed doubts in intention for fresh polls by the Central Division leadership. The angry group also rejected the fresh polls on grounds of having interference by Drakma Malik, the town clerk of Central Division, on their affairs by imposing the Market Act.
Since we actually elected our chairperson for the association, we said no, we're not going to handle our elections today. Since we have our chairperson who is in charge of us right now, who is taking care of the market now, we're not going to handle elections. But they are just insisting that we are only going to have elections. This is now the 30th year. Any election which has been organized in these 30 years has not been organized by the town clerk. It has been organized by the members, and then of which the vice chairperson, the outgoing one, is the electoral commission, who is actually handling the electoral process of the association.
Afayo Christopher, the former chairperson of Arua Gaga Market Traders Association, attributes the conflicts to failure to respect their constitution by imposing the Market Act to determine their affairs.
The Market Act cannot act against the will of the members. The members have a right to determine who must be their leader depending on merit. Any candidate can contest, but what matters most is the character, is the agenda of that person, of which we thought the Market Act must come and empower that. But now, the situation on the ground is the constitution of Gaga Market challenges the constitution, in fact the Market Act.
Meanwhile, Drakuma Malik, the town clerk of Central Division, refuted the allegations, as he says the elections were nullified on grounds of irregularities that marred the previous elections.
We had given time to organize these elections, basing on the previous elections that dropped. The first election that was supposed to take place in that facility was supposed to be on 17th April 2024. But because of the gaps, voters' registers were not well cleaned, and also coordination of those elections were not properly done. These elections, all the elections in our public markets facilities are supervised by our registrar, that is the community-based department, based services department.
Abdulaziz Hakim, the incumbent chairperson of Gaga Textile Market, who went unopposed, expresses dismay at the town clerk's office for wanting to oust his legitimate leadership since relevant authorities are aware about him being in office.
Ever since I became in power, the handovers were done. I'm the legitimate leader who is already in office. But we have a lot of challenges which we are facing right now on the ground. There are some individuals which are trying to disorganize us here as the association, of which they're still not happy with the election which was held.
Ezamaham Nizamil, the Deputy Resident City Commissioner in charge of Central Division, through orders of his boss Charles Ishogor, the Resident City Commissioner guided by suspending the elections till further notice.
By the rules of the election. Okay. Now, when the voters and the people are not ready to vote and they want to cause chaos, and this is a place which is congested, people's properties are here, we anticipate there's going to be bigger problem. Therefore, as I conducted the senior RCC, he has guided strategically that I should officially first cancel the election until further notice. We shall summon all the stakeholders for a meeting. We harmonize, then we see what to do.
In a letter seen written by... Well, as we are just left with one minute, I want to say we need sanity in that place, and we do not need any form of violence, because violence can never solve any problem. As usual, we say two birds cannot make one good, and that is one thing also really where we need to also really pray for peace, and that is one thing we also did see happening in there, and we are yet following up on that discussion, and until the last drop also when that matter will be addressed in there. For now, allow me to take this short, quick, important breather, and I'm still with Benson Pastore as we bounce back shortly with more other topics also that did run in the due course of the week. For now, we are taking a rest as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Sané, Griezmann, Lewandowski, and many more. Mbappe! Who is your European star? We are very familiar with all German stadia. Trust us to give you the best Euro experience affordably. Catch the matches live on NBS Sport, channel 255 on antenna or channel 199 on Dish Decoder on Star Times. We got your stars. This message is brought to you by StarTimes Solar. StarTimes Solar, more than just solar.
Right, 3 minutes after 8 a.m., which is also really our second hour of the show, and we are back with the KOKOLIRIKO live show for the final edition, and today is Friday, 5th of the month of July, 5 days already into the new financial year, and this is the 7th month as well in our calendar. That is ordinary in there, but you should also really start making assessments of how you are faring and what you are achieving in terms of the plans that you might have laid at the beginning of the year. How much have you so far achieved? If at all, many, congratulations. If at all you haven't achieved, what have you done? Because recently, we are not going to be listening to stories, because recently we did see one of the leaders, one of the ministers also really saying those who are poor should be arrested. That is why we are saying if at all you are still poor, we may also bring police to your home and arrest you, because that is what the minister actually directed for, because we do not want to see people who are poor. And that is where we pray for always, each and everybody to be prosperous this year, and we want to see everybody also really achieve what they want to achieve this year, and that is one thing also really what we are going to be looking out for. What do you make of that statement that poor people should be arrested and brought to police because they are poor, because the government of Uganda has done enough when it comes to also poverty alleviation programs in there? For instance, the PDM, the Myoga, the Bonabagawale, now we are having the grow for the women entrepreneurs, and all this is to support people to also move away from the poverty line into the money economy. And we did see one of the ministers also saying, now those who are poor should be arrested, and these are part of the statements that came in this week.
Yeah, the statement alone sounds funny. There is no one who will want to stay poor. And first of all, and also one thing I am looking forward to see is how will you know that this person is poor? What if the person has something, of course, to hide with his wealth? How will you know that? Or is it just that this person is poor? I think the minister saying that the poor people, of course, will have to be arrested. I don't go with that idea, because, you know, we all have got different luckies. And at the same time, how of course you live your life is not the way how of course I live my life. And is there any specific measurement to know that this person is poor, or is a little bit with maybe something, of course, which can sustain his or her standard of living. I think if there is no measurement, that specific measurement to see if so and so is poor or so and so is a little bit in the middle standard. If that measurement is there, of course, that statement will work. But if it is not there, of course, it will be difficult to know if this one is poor as if this one is not the poor.
Okay, that was a statement that came in from the Prime Minister. That is Right Honorable, that is Nabanja Robina, who actually said the poor people should pay for the price.
And also one thing I've forgotten is, has he come up with that statement because of these petty projects that have been introduced by the government? Is that one the reason as to why?
Yes, government has not done this also to make sure that people remain the way they are, because these programs are meant to make sure that people move away from the bar line of poverty, because we are having so many people who are living behind the poverty line, and West Nile sub-region is actually one of those regions that is said to be having so many poor people. And now the government has done its part. We have the Paris Development Model that is currently running. I don't know in your village how many people have gotten this money.
And also one thing we should understand
this is where Benson, I want to engage you. I want to see, are these people utilizing this money in the right channel?
Not everyone is benefiting out of these projects. There are some people who do not qualify to benefit in this project, like the issue of PDM specifically. Let me talk about Paris Development Model. In a family, they are only given 1 million, I should say like that. Like, I might be married with 8 children, mother and father, it makes a total of 10 family members. What if the other relatives are there? I am now talking about the extended family. You may see that in a family, there are more than over 10 people in a family. How can 1 million be able to sustain or improve the standard of living of a family? And at the same time, only one person is benefiting. Maybe, mostly it is favoring the women. And also the idea, the knowledge of using the money. You know, this money is given such that you can start doing something, maybe business, maybe you fix the money in farming, maybe livestock. It is a process, like if it is in a livestock, it is a process, but also for you to use the money very well, you must be having that knowledge of how to use the money.
What we call financial literacy, in other words.
Yeah. You must be having the knowledge of how to spend the money. If you don't have the knowledge, like if you want to invest the money in business, do you have business knowledge? Is also one thing you need to look forward into. If it is a farming, do you have the farming knowledge? You might see that sometimes the period, the money is coming. It actually finds things.
Benson, this is a proposal in one of the functions recently, where this actually happened on Tuesday, where she did also come out and ask government also as a new strategy for those who have purposely refused to embrace the government programs that are currently running. We have the Myoga, which is there. I don't know how many people have had that have benefited from this money. We have the Paris Development Model, which also is there. We have the youth livelihood programs, which are all there meant to benefit these categories of people. And this is one thing also now she's asking, and that's already appeal for as a proposal that for those who have failed to embrace these government programs, they should now be taken to file statements at police in there.
There are some people who have failed to impress the government projects because they have failed to understand the projects. You know, like the issue of Paris Development Model. Some people, for sure, they have failed to understand this money, this project. Others are saying that this money is given for free and you will not return it. And others are saying that this money is given as a loan, and at the end, maybe after a period of 1 or 2 years, you will have to return the money back to government with interest. You know, there are some people who have, people have got different perceptions about money. There are some people who don't like the issue to be done with the loans, because if I'm told the money is going to be returned at the end of the period, maybe 1 year, 2 years, of course, that one obviously is now a loan from government. There are some people who don't want to deal with the loans. Maybe that might be the reason as to why we have seen some of them not benefiting out of the project, because they know that at the end of the 2 or 1 year, they will have to pay the money. What if that year, the period comes to an end, it finds you with nothing? And also, there are some things they consider for you to benefit out of the project, like the issue of ID. So many things they sometimes consider, and some of these people, they are lacking these things. That's why you see the beneficiaries are not all over the country. Only some specific people they are benefiting. More especially people who have met the required standards.
Okay. Talking about this, definitely I believe so many people are maybe shunning the exercise for one reason or the other, and this could be the interest rate. And you talked about some people who may not also want to be part of the laws, and I must say this is for the categories more so the Muslims. We talk about riba because interest is something also really as Muslims we have often also really practiced and preached against, because our books of law do not also permit that, and that is where Islamic banking also really should come in place for those who are actually out there, as the government of Uganda is already in pipeline to also make sure that they formalize the operations of the Islamic banking also sector in Uganda. And that is something also which I feel also when the right time comes we should also tap into, because this is where people are going to be borrowing money without interest rates, because many people may not be able to really borrow the money of PDM just because of the interest rates, but I don't know how much and how big and how difficult the interest rates for this government monies is.
Yeah, it's something of course we don't know. We need the right person to explain about the interest rate. And also, Faris, one thing I've been observing is some people have benefited out of these projects, but they are keeping the money. They are keeping the money in their house. And there was one person who benefited out of PDM, and the person is still keeping the money out of 1M. He only deducted something of 150, 800 is still being kept in the house because of the fear that at the end of the period, for her to return the loan, the period might not find the money with her. That's why he's actually keeping the money. That's why I had to say that some people are really fearing. They are fearing.
What does that call for? In my own opinion, and this is my own opinion, government needed to come out for continuous engagements and continuous sensitization of the people and the beneficiaries. And you talked about knowledge, and this is what we call financial literacy. Not everybody can actually benefit from this money. Benson, trust me, even if right now somebody gave some people 10 million right now, there are people who are going to be eating that money. There are others who are going to be eating that money. Yet there's somebody out there who may receive 400,000, and this 40,000 is enough to change this person's life. And this is actually where we are seeing many people asking for capital in different formats. And we have people who may just ask a capital of 100,000. For them, it's enough as startup capital. Meanwhile, there are those who have the 10 millions, but they do not actually see this also the money to also transform their lives. I want to give an example of people who sell land. They sell land thinking that they're going to be doing business, but after getting money, usually know the story. They eat up the money. And how can we make sure that we have the mindset change of that ordinary person whom we also really want to see that moves away from that poverty index and also into the money economy as said by the president in India. And now this is also where the warning of Prime Minister Robin Nabanja, in my own opinion, should also be applied in here, because after getting the money, how have you utilized it?
There was a time we had a debate with a certain friend of mine. He's succeeding in a business, a talent. Actually, we failed to come up with the answer, and also the issue of maybe development, and people have attributed it to that coping mechanism where you see it from someone, whereas in another sector you come up with it. And also the idea of developing yourself, is it a talent, is actually what people are looking forward into. Some people having different ideologies, different perceptions about the issue of government projects. Some of them think that it's something from the government. They can use it or else spend it the way they want. After all, there will be no one to follow them. But there are some people who have really taken these initiatives to change their standard of living. It depends on who you are, how of course you are going to spend the money. But the fact remains, most of these people, they have taken these government projects for granted. This money is given, they use it in different ways. And there was a time, some people were complaining, the beneficiaries were complaining that their money was given at a wrong time, because it was given towards the period of Christmas. Most of them, they spend the money for that Christmas, and also it was in a dry season, where you could not use the money for farming. And also they are saying that the government, of course, will have to target a specific period, maybe rain season, whereby those ones who may want to use the money, spend the money utilize the money for maybe farming, that might be the right period for them to use the money in a right way. But if it is given in a period, maybe in a dry season, maybe around December, then obviously people will use part of it ignorantly for maybe spending the big days, Christmas. It depends on how you plan. And as I said, some people are not benefiting out of it because of the required standards, like a person might be poor, may really be in need of the money, may really be in need of the project, but do you have ID, do you have these other things? They actually ask him. And also some people are complaining that they ask petty monies from them to actually process the whole matter.
That is corruption.
That is corruption, I know. Yeah.
So we're talking about those who have received the money and those who have not received, irrespective of the maybe the status. We are saying, Machaz, you remain poor. Definitely the new strategy by that's Prime Minister Robert Nabanja is that you should file a statement at police and also really as to why you are poor. And that is one thing also really which I must also really keep reminding the poor out there of. Because if at all you continue to remain poor because of your wishes, then definitely that is wrong. But we are saying we must take advantage of these various opportunities that are in place, and we leave it entirely to you, the viewer, now to also really share your opinion with us on what you think. Is it right for people who are poor to also really go to police and now record statements? Definitely we leave that entirely in your hands. But for now, as also before we get to see your comments, and now there's one called here Neckboy who says, good morning West Nile TV, I'm Anguzu streaming live from Luero, and that is where also we want to thank him for watching us this early morning, and we say thank you so much. And just like Anguzu, the rest who are also watching us, we say asante sana, and this is also really why we always come here to keep you informed, entertained, and also really educated as well, because our discussions must not only be limited to politics alone, but we cut across all the sectors of life. And now talking about the sector of lives, socio-economic transformation is actually where we have been doing the discussions on, and I believe it is not a one person's mandate, and we have so many organizations today, and we are also looking forward to also make sure they supplement government in also really undertaking some of these initiatives. And now we did recently see one of those organizations in Terego where Benson actually you went also really making sure and making strides in making sure also really some of the community members also really benefit from that. In other words, we have so many non-government organizations today also emerging, with others just arising. How should they help government to certainly maybe in attaining some of the government dreams?
Yeah, it's true.
Because when we talk about poverty elevation, definitely not a one-man show. We have all the parts to play, and this is where we are saying all the stakeholders, we are all key players, where we must work shoulder by shoulder. What should these organizations do?
It's true. These non-governmental organizations, in sort like you said, NGOs, they're actually doing a lot in various communities to see that they actually cover some of the things which would have been done by the government of Uganda. Not only Uganda, I should say all over the country. This time, let's take a look at West Nile. And most of these organizations, really, they are doing part to see that they improve on the standard of the living of the various communities. And you go to these refugee settlements, you go to Bidibidi, which is the largest, you go to Imvepi, you also go to Reno Kambi. Really, these refugees, they are benefiting a lot from these NGOs in different ways. And one thing which I have realized is these NGOs, they are helping government a lot. Matthias, for them to succeed in their deal, in their projects, they also involve government, but they are really doing a lot. Like some of the things they are doing, government might not be aware of it. Maybe government might be aware, but they might not be having the finance. They might not be having the money to facilitate these people. Like you look at these refugees. Like this week, I was at Mvepi refugee settlement. It was not only the refugees who benefited out of that, out of the capacity building that was actually implemented by one of the NGOs. Also, the host communities, they are also benefiting. That means these refugees, they are not only benefiting from the host communities, we also, the host communities, we are also benefiting from the refugees. That means we should now look at them as sisters, as brothers to them. And you look at these host communities, before these refugees actually came to Uganda, I think the NGOs, there were not so many in those areas, but after us seeing these refugees pouring in numbers, we have seen so many projects being implemented by various NGOs in these settlements where we have seen the refugees gathering. To me, I would say these NGOs, they are actually covering things, as covering some of the things which are supposed to be done by government. What should we now do with the stakeholders? As a community member, you are also a stakeholder, and as a refugee, you are also a stakeholder. Government leaders, you are also a stakeholder. What should we do? That means we should work hand in hand, like you have said. We should now be together with these NGOs to see that their missions, their projects, the success, such that we don't only eye government, the NGOs, they can also come and fill gap. Okay. Which has been left by government.
Okay, talking about refugees, recently we are, by the way, Benson, we are having two categories mainly of refugees in Uganda, and the rural city is actually not spared from also hosting these refugees. We are having refugees from DRC as well as from South Sudan who are living with us, and these are our brothers, and today we also prefer calling them our brothers from South Sudan and our brothers from DRC, not necessarily calling them refugees, because we are one. And at one time, Benson, one of those stories, by the way, I always keep lamenting on is the time I actually spent with my grandmother, and usually one of those stories that she could not tell me, and if at all you also talk about this regime today, my grandmother will never side with you because of the peace, and that is one thing also she always keeps on talking about, because life in DRC while seeking refuge was never something easy. And also she told us at one time when they were also in South Sudan for refuge, also still that life was never easy, and that means also the same. It maybe is the same way the people are currently who are living as refugees are also feeling up on. Maybe that's also something we are seeing out for. And last week we did see DRC celebrating its independence, and also really next week on 9th of July we also going to be seeing South Sudan also really celebrating the independence in there. And what is the message that also comes from the refugees, because you have been interacting with them also over this period, and I believe we are also going to be still having more interactions with them, because they are our brothers and we can never run away from them as we look forward also their independence celebrations in there.
First, it is true before actually I talk about the upcoming independence for South Sudan. We having that harmonious living in a harmonious way with the refugees. I hate calling them refugees, but that is the term which is given to them. We are actually paying back, because like you have said, once our grandpapas, our grandmamas, even some of our parents, that we are refugees that side of Congo. That means if we live in a good life, if we will live in a harmonious way with the current refugees, maybe from Congo, maybe from Sudan, we are trying to pay back the previous moments we also had, maybe which might have been in South Sudan or else in DRC. Now coming to the issue of independence, their independence coming on the 9th of this particular month. The 9th will actually be on Tuesday. I had conversations with some of them. Actually, I tried to interview some of them about what they are expecting ahead of the upcoming independence of their country, because mostly when you talk about the refugees in the country, most of the people's mind think about the population of the South Sudanese we have in the country, because 55% of the refugees they are from South Sudan. They are actually calling for peace from their country. They want peace to advocate in their country such that they can be in position to return to their country. You know, being a refugee sometimes sounds strange. One day you will wake up in the morning, start thinking, I am a refugee, what's next for me? Because I'm going to produce, the lands might not be enough. I need to go back. That might be the reason as to why they are actually calling for peace in their country ahead of the upcoming independence of South Sudan. And we are also hoping that what they are praying for, what they are advocating for, will be in position to work such that some of them who may want to go back will go back. Some of them who wants to remain with us as brothers and sisters will remain with us.
Okay, talking about this, because the fact is many may not also go back, because we are now seeing intermarriages between the South Sudanese and the Ugandans, and that is actually the way to go. We are one, and that is one thing also we need to look out for, and that is one thing also, as always, we must preach in there, because brotherhood and Pan-Africanism, which the head of state actually today very much talks over, is also really something where we must also work with the refugees hand in hand, or shoulder by shoulder, as the RC says. I love that statement. Also in relation to also making sure that the issues of refugee management is concerned. And 9th of July, we are going to be also celebrating this day with our brothers from South Sudan. And this is also where they will, I believe, they will also be advocating for so many issues, because most often when we have interactions with the refugees, one of those concerns and their pleas has always been that they need peace, and they always continuously also advocate for peace to prevail way back in South Sudan, because that is a nation that has not enjoyed peace for a long period of time. We have had so many insurgencies already arising from there, and this has actually pushed so many people away from the country, because we are having so many refugees now living in Uganda, others in Kenya, others also overseas. We have many South Sudanese also living now in overseas, in Australia, in Europe, in other parts of the world, and they are there, and also really to make sure that they take refuge. And this is also where life may not be easy, because east or west, we usually say home is best.
Yeah.
And life away from home is usually a painful one. And I believe we must also now continue to also put the leaders to task, and also make sure that peace prevails in the youngest nation of the world, India. And that is one thing also where we are going to be starting a discussion with. And now talking about also this peace, it means that the different key players also must work hand in hand now addressing this concern. The non-government organizations must supplement government efforts in terms of addressing that. And now talking about these non-government organizations, it shouldn't also really be in security alone. It should also cut across. And talking about other areas, yesterday we did see one of those organizations joining hands. This is Maltese International coming together with also already the Association of Professional Ambulance Operators in Uganda, to also come to also address and also train a number of stakeholders. These are the health workers, the ambulance drivers, and other emergency response workers. And I must inform you, Benson, along the junction that connects Mountain Wat Road. Do you know Mountain Wat Road? This is the road that also connects, that is right from Vara to Ombachi. This road is called Mount Road, as many people think that it's called, because many people think that is the Chiba Mvara Coast Road, but it's not called that. The road is called Mount Wati Road, and that junction of moves. Business actually came to a standstill, as many people were wondering what was going on, because there were so many ambulances in place, and we did see sirens also being raised all over the place. Benson, many people thought that it was an accident. Yet this was just a training, because this people had been undergoing a 10 days training where 30 stakeholders, and these are selected from also among others the different categories. For instance, the ambulance drivers, the medics, who are actually selected and to be trained also to also handle emergency rescue in there, because many times we have accidents, but people come on the scene of crime, they did not know what was going on, and we did see police also who be part of that group. What can you say about that, basically?
Yeah, it's a very good initiative being taken by the organization together with the government to see that they train these people, the drivers, the people who are going to work in the ambulance, because by the way, people have failed to understand what an ambulance is. People think that it is only the car, but there are so many things which are involved as far as ambulance is concerned. First of all, you have a driver who can operate, drive, but what about the health workers who are supposed to work in the ambulance? Is also another thing we should be looking forward into. In summary, what I should say is an ambulance is not only the car itself, it is the driver and also the people who are working in the car, and the training them is a very good initiative. I think we'll be smiling. It will be a pleasure on our side, or if it will yield fruit at the end, because sometimes we see some of these projects come, some of these trainings, they come like this, and it becomes a standstill. It fails on the way, and also it may leave so many in wonder of which category of people are going to benefit out of this. Is of course one thing people are looking forward, because when training is done like this, mostly I don't know if you are also aware of it, people, they don't know, so many people, they don't know how, of course, an ambulance operates. Like you might be having a poor person in the village, and people, I should say in summary, is people don't know the channels of how an ambulance operates. So these are the things, of course, we should be informing people about, sensitizing people about. What I can say is it's a very good initiative, and I hope that it will work very well, and also people will benefit out of it. You actually mentioned something about accidents taking place occurring at the end. You will see that the person is left unbothered. I think these are the things, of course, we will be looking forward into. In case it ends successfully, we are hopeful that some of the gaps that have been left behind, of course, will be covered.
Okay, talking about those gaps that will be addressed by this training, we are looking forward to that, and we are going to be taking this quick important breather, and we shall still come back on this topic, and also make sure also other stakeholders understand why emergency response is very key, because sometimes we see this person misusing the ambulances for doing their bad things. But one thing, Benson, it has also now come to our notice that ambulances are not to be used for carrying dead bodies, as we have seen, and that is a crime, and that is one thing also we must condemn in the strongest terms, because ambulances are to handle emergencies, and when maybe somebody is dying out there, this person needed referral, that is when we need ambulance. But sometimes we see people also misusing these ambulances, and on a sad note, these local governments that didn't receive the new ambulances as well are not going to be receiving this money. But now let's first take this quick breather, and we bounce back on that topic. I know you will have something to say in relation to that.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Sané, Griezmann, Lewandowski, and many more. Mbappe! Who is your European star? We are very familiar with all German stadia. Trust us to give you the best Euro experience affordably. Catch the matches live on NBS Sport, channel 255 on antenna or channel 199 on Dish Decoder on Star Times. We got your stars. This message is brought to you by Star Times Solar. Star Times Solar, more than just solar.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show with me, Farish Majid, and I'm not alone. I'm still with Oracle Benson Pastore, and we are discussing and making analysis of some of the events that did transpire in the due course of the week in there, because we need to summarize the week, and this is where we shall always be doing this on Friday, where we shall also be keeping you informed of some of the stories that could have run in the due course of the week, and this is where we want to make sure we digest and make sure that you understand all this. And earlier on we were talking about the issues of these ambulance operators and the emergency workers in general also be trained in there, and this is one thing we did see happening, because emergency response sometimes is actually one area that has been leading to so many casualty deaths in there, and this is one thing also that we have seen happening, and now we want to make sure at least there's an improvement in that area. At least over 30 people benefited from 10 days training by, that is Association of Professional Ambulance Operators Uganda, and also really in connection with Maltese International Ministry of Health, who actually did give this training to these people here, and drivers, health workers, and other response workers have now received the training, and this is also to keep the poor empowered, because many times we see accidents happening on our road, but people do not know what exactly to do, and this was only clearly manifested when the community was ambushed, because they did not know what was happening, only to see ambulances running from one place to another, sirens all over. Many people came to see what was happening, and this is just at the junction along Mubusori in there, and that is something we did see yesterday, and people were crying, meaning people did not know exactly what was happening. And on a sad note, I did see a woman who actually came and did not know that this thing was being acted, and she actually started wailing, thinking that it was indeed an accident that happened. And what do you think about this? Benson, how should this private organization support government in attaining this also real initiative? Because government alone cannot do everything, because we have seen government most times saying we are not going to make sure that our hand reaches all over.
It's true, government alone cannot be in position to facilitate or else do anything. That's why we are seeing these NGOs all over the country, And actually when we are closing the other stanza, I did come up with a statement of saying that so many people, trust me, so many people all over the country, they are not aware of how ambulances, they operate. Some people think that ambulance operates at a fee. If it's so, how much is it? And secondly, you brought the other point of people thinking that ambulances are only for carrying dead bodies. And people think that ambulances are only for carrying dead bodies. Others don't know how it operates. Others might be thinking that it operates at a fee. And also the second thing is sensitization. How often do you sensitize people about how ambulances operate? And also on top of that, how many are there? Like I did say, an ambulance is not only the vehicle itself, the driver, and also the health workers, as the emergency workers, the term you actually used. Actually, that one makes a complete set of an ambulance. And also their numbers. Are there so many? This scarcity is also something we should be looking forward to.
Talking about the numbers of ambulances, we have very few in this nation, and in this region in particular, we have very few ambulances still, and this is also really where others were to receive this money. And when we were talking about the budget earlier on, I did tell you that money that was initially meant for purchasing these ambulances for the local governments that missed are not going to be receiving this financial year.
Also more so, where they're supposed to be deployed is also another thing we are looking forward into. In most cases, we are seeing these ambulances being deployed in hospitals and also in maybe improved health centers. And you might see that a scene of accident has happened deep in the village, and people don't know where to, the person is about to maybe pass away. You don't know where to call for an ambulance, and you don't have any number who is having that connection with any, maybe a driver or a health worker who is working in any ambulance. So these are the things, of course, we should be looking forward into. It's not all about only training them. It's also about sensitizing the community members. How do you get to connect with them? And where are they deployed? Like if something has happened, how do you connect with them? Yes. Actually, these are the things you should be sensitizing the public about.
Talking about sensitization of these people, Benson, you're actually right. These people needed to be trained, and this is where those who actually, there are people who are supposed to be in society who must be trained also as emergency workers in, and that is also really where, if at all there's an emergency, they will be able to rush out to. And the easiest people to, in my own opinion, in this case, are the VHTs who need to be empowered with the skills.
And also, first, one thing I've observed is most of the people, they think that ambulances are for people who are having money. If you are a poor, you cannot actually afford the ambulances. That's why in most cases. But
Benson, sometimes we have seen this because somebody moves out to a health facility and asking ambulance for referral, maybe from a rural regional referral hospital to Mulago, let's say that, and this is only where they are going to be asking for, a lot of money.
That is the reason as to
where
why
they will ask for over millions, because at one time I actually was part of this, and I did see a referral that was from a rural regional referral hospital to Mulago National Referral, and where I was able to see that indeed we need ambulance workers trained, because if at all we are not training them, then definitely we shall also see how difficult it is. And that is one thing also we did see happening, and we continuously advocate for more trainings. And I feel this is also really something we need to also really engage our people in, because people at the end of the day need to understand that an ambulance is for emergency, not for carrying dead bodies. Once the person dies, you need to use the other trucks and other vehicles also really in there, because an ambulance is supposed to be there as standby, and these emergency workers, imagine you are there for your other rights, which they call the other rights, you know it, but the conjugal rights. And then somebody calls you in the middle of the night and says, hello, there is an emergency here. Definitely you have to leave what you're doing. And this is also where the emergency workers need also to give and dedicate themselves entirely for the service of humanity. And that is one thing also, Benson, which I must say the training is actually there to address.
One thing I am looking forward to see is the cost at which, and in fact, before I talk about it, you should make the public to understand whether it works at a fee or not. If it is at a fee, how much is it? That's why you will see a person who lives in a poor grassroots house cannot afford an ambulance. That's why people are saying that ambulance is only for people who are having money, and at the same time, people don't know the procedures and the channels of how maybe ambulances or as an ambulance operates. That is the gap I've seen between the community members and also the operators.
Okay, it is a chilly weather in Arua City. In case you are just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard from wherever you're watching us from. We are just left with about 5 minutes, but in a special way, allow me thank Andabati Samuel all the way from Bombo for watching us and says good morning West Nile TV. Watching live from Bombo. We say thank you so much also for watching us this early morning, and we are here to keep you informed of what's happening. And Benson, as we are just left with about 5 minutes and still summarize the week, I believe there are also the stories that did run in the world of sports. Maybe briefly you can give us a hint of what happened in the world of sports also this week as we summarize today's discussions.
In West Nile region, the biggest thing which happened in the world of sports was all about the conclusion of in the school ball game 2, which was hosted by Koboko district, more especially Nyangera SS, where we have seen most of the things being dominated by Arua City. The athletics, they were actually the champions both from the boys and also the girls. And also you talk about the sector of netball. In the last few seasons, or as the last few years, it has actually been dominated by Arua Public Senior Secondary School, again winning it in Vara, emerging as the defending champions, and also St. Joseph's College Ombate, one of the famous schools we have in the region.
They're the basketball kings.
They won the gong of that basketball. And also we have seen that volleyball going that side of Yumbe. I mean a school that is coming from Yumbe district, winning the trophy, the gong of that volleyball. Right now, the athletes that have been selected to represent Arua City in the national championship, they have actually started the preparation, and we have also seen Paida Black Angels, a team from West Nile, also earning promotion to Bet Power FIFA Big League. That means next season, 2024/2025, they will be playing
4 teams. We shall now, as West Nile region, we shall be having 4 teams representing at the second tier of Ugandan football.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean, Benson? How is the competition going to be like?
You know, West Nile, there is something which is very funny happening in West Nile football. You may see clubs coming in numbers after a few years, few seasons. You know, mostly the term which is used in sports is actually seasons, not years. After a few seasons, you will see these clubs disappearing. I want to be surprised after a few seasons, maybe the likes of Paida Black Angels, on the Paracas of this world, Calvary, maybe Arua Hill. If most of them will disappear, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say it's not all about promoting these clubs. It's all about maintaining them. West Nile is a basket of talent as far as sports is concerned. Let's keep on watching the space. But I'm not playing on the side of bad omen.
Talking about that, next season, I must say I am waiting for these derbies. Definitely, I will also be part of this derbies also come next year, and I will be following up and see if at all Paida will move to Yumbe and play from there. And then on Duparaka Football Club, definitely also will be coming to Arua, maybe move to Zombo and also move to Yumbe. And I want to see how the environment is going to be like. And this is something also which we have always prayed for, and that means also we are going to be having 4 teams, as rumors has it that Arua Sports Club will be playing. That is in Leju Town Council. I don't know how true that one is, but it's a rumor, and we treat it also as a rumor as in relation to that.
The team which is yet pending is, like you have said, is Arua Sports Club. Whether they are going to come back or is not, and where they are going to play, like you have said, the rumors are circulating all over that they will be going to Leju. We are not aware of that. We will be in person to tell you if that story will actually yield fruit just in 30 seconds. And I've been thinking over the night, whether the standard of Ugandan transfer is trying to meet the standard of international transfer, because you look at how these players are moving. Unfortunately, or as fortunately, most of these players are actually moving on free transfers. What the only pocket is actually the sign-on fee. And we have seen the biggest of it happen yesterday, where Amaku Fred crossing from Maroons up to das Airtel Chitara after the expiration of his contract, summarizing everything actually in 30 seconds. The European Championship quarterfinals is also bouncing back, whereby Spain will be battling Germany, the host country, at 7 p.m. Portugal up against France at 10 p.m. And then there was one game in the quarterfinals of the Copa America between Argentina and Ecuador, which happened this morning. Surprisingly, the full time ended in a draw 1-1. Argentina was lucky to have gone into the semi-finals after 4-2 penalty shootout win over Ecuador. And also one funny thing is Messi spoiling the beginning penalty for Argentina, but they were through. That's what I can say.
Our time is up, Benson. I don't know what you think about these games, the European games that are going on, and who exactly will be crowned the winners. Definitely, you should also share with us. And I think in Euros, I will be going for Germany, and then Copa America. Still, I will be going for the favorites. You know that. Maybe your opinion.
Right now, Argentina, they are the defending champions in Copa America. Being a defending champion comes with so many pressure. Brazil is not the Brazil we used to know in the past. Other countries are struggling. Me, I'm seeing Argentina as the favorites. Meanwhile, in European Championship, the only country which has impressed me so far is only Spain. Some years back, their squad got done. They were actually depleted. The likes of Fabregas, Xavis of this world, so David Villas. After them retiring, some of them retiring, age catching up with them, Spain went down. But right now, they are performing very well. Spain seems to be the favorites. They will knock out Germany tonight.
That is it for the sports updates, and more details to that will be coming through in our subsequent subsequent program, that is of the Whistle Time, from 2 to 3 p.m. with Owen Ezaga and Linda Susie, who will be here to give you that comprehensive and detailed analysis of what is happening in the world of sports. And that is where I also want to appeal to the sports lovers to be part of that program, as the team will also really be here to still give you more detailed and interesting stories in the world of sports, right from the transfers and the European games that are ongoing. And the team is actually there, and they will be here from 2 to 3 p.m. And with that, we come to the end of this week's edition for the KOKOLIRIKO live show. And today is a Friday, and we shall be bouncing back again on Monday. From me to you, have yourselves a good day. But Benson, your final words to the viewer?
What I can only say is have the best of your moments over the weekend. Your local sports are not all that vivid, because most of the seasons are done, but you can enjoy your moments with what is happening in Copa America and also in European Championship. What I can say is it's not all about sports, it's all about taking care of yourself, and keep watching Western TV.
Okay, talking about taking care of yourselves, and the viewer, I also want to appeal to you to take proper care of yourself as we also head into the weekend, because usually weekend comes with excitement, others go for other things, but we are saying you must make sure that you enjoy responsibly. The game's already here, you must also take advantage of watching them. And with that, we come to the end of this week's edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and we shall be bouncing back on Monday. For those who watched us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning, our word to you is Asante Sana. And up next is the news bulletin with that is Feta Emmanuel, Lady Mineo Lazaluba Tzirfezun, Mapadwa Sani, Mania Medika Savularis Deni.